Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive with us? Today, we're heading to a place that's, well, let's just say it's a bit crooked.
Crooked? That's putting it mildly.
All right, maybe more than a bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Crooked Forest in Poland, near Grafino, to be exact.
Ah, yes. The forest of bent pines. A real head-scratcher.
Exactly. Hundreds of them, all planted sometime around 1930. And almost every single one has this dramatic, almost 90-degree bend at the base of its trunk.
It's like someone or something deliberately shaped them.
And then, just as abruptly, they straighten up and grow normally, like a perfectly synchronized forest ballet.
So what's the deal with these trees? What could possibly explain this?
That's what we're diving into today. The Crooked Forest has sparked a whole bunch of theories, from the mundane to the, shall we say, out there.
So are we talking natural causes, human intervention, or something a little more extraterrestrial?
We're going to cover it all. We'll sift through the evidence, the speculation, and everything in between.
Sounds like we've got a real mystery on our hands.
We do. But let's start with what seems like the most logical explanation, the one you usually hear first. Human intervention.
Right, the idea that people intentionally bent those trees, but for what purpose?
Well, the most common theory is that they were meant for shipbuilding. Think of those curved timbers used in a ship's hull.
Makes sense. Finding naturally curved wood like that would be a huge advantage.
Absolutely. And back in the 1930s, when these trees were planted, shipbuilding was still a major industry. But then you start to wonder, wouldn't it be some record of this technique?
Yeah, you'd think so. Some mention in local forestry records or maybe even an old-timer's tale, but there's nothing.
Nothing at all. And how do they even bend the trees like that? We're talking about hundreds of trees, all with this uniform curve.
It would have taken a lot of time, specialized tools, maybe even some sort of framework to guide the growth.
Not to mention the sheer manpower required. It's a massive undertaking, and there's no trace of it anywhere.
And then there's the war. World War II broke out just a few years after these trees were planted. Would a project like this have continued amidst all that chaos?
It seems unlikely. Resources and priorities would have shifted dramatically. And here's another thought. If this was a common practice, why don't we see similar bent trees in other forests nearby?
Good point. This seems very localized to the Crooked Forest. It's like this one little grove holds a secret.
So, human intervention, while seemingly plausible, leaves us with more questions than answers, which leads us to another popular theory, a German experiment.
Ah, yes. The idea that the Germans who controlled this area at the time were up to something.
Something secret, something scientific. Germany was known for its technological advancements in the 1930s.
Right, they were pushing the boundaries in many fields. So could this forest be the result of some sort of experiment?
Maybe. But again, we run into the evidence problem. There are no records, no blueprints, no first-hand accounts to back this up.
It all hinges on the historical context and the fact that we don't have a better explanation.
Plus, why bend the trees at a 90-degree angle? What practical application would that serve, especially for a military purpose?
Some theories suggest it was meant for tank tracks, but that doesn't quite add up. The bend is too sharp, and the trees wouldn't provide enough support.
And as with the human intervention theory, the small scale of this experiment is puzzling. Why just this one grove? Wouldn't a project of this nature be more widespread?
So, while the German experiment theory is intriguing, it's ultimately based more on speculation than on concrete evidence. Perhaps we need to consider something more natural.
Like the snow damage theory. This one suggests that heavy snowfall, possibly coupled with strong winds, could have caused the bend.
Young trees are flexible, especially pine saplings. Under the weight of heavy, wet snow, they could bend over.
And then, as the snow melts, they would start to grow upwards again, creating that crooked shape. It seems plausible, especially given the harsh winters in this region.
But would it create such a uniform bend across so many trees?
That's the sticking point. Snowfall tends to be random. You'd expect a more varied pattern of bending.
Some trees might be bent at different angles, some might break, some might not be affected at all. This forest is just too neat and tidy for that.
And again, why don't we see similar effects in other forests that experience the same snowfall? This phenomenon is unique to the Crooked Forest.
All right, so snow damage seems unlikely. What about something even more unusual, like a gravitational anomaly?
Now we're venturing into the realm of the unknown. The idea here is that some sort of localized gravitational distortion affected the tree's growth.
We know that gravitational anomalies exist. Variations in the Earth's density can cause subtle differences in gravity.
But would it be strong enough to bend trees like this? And why
Yeah.
just this specific spot?
That's the challenge with this theory. There's no evidence of any gravitational anomaly in this area.
And even if there was, the effect on trees wouldn't typically be a lateral bend. Gravity usually influences the direction of root growth and the overall orientation of the tree.
So, while it's a fascinating idea, it doesn't quite fit the facts.
Okay, let's go even further down the rabbit hole. What about lowly lines and earth energy?
Now we're getting into the realm of the esoteric. Ley lines are these hypothetical energy lines that supposedly crisscross the Earth.
Some believe they can influence plant growth, create energy vortexes, even affect human consciousness.
So, could the crooked forest be located on a powerful ley line, causing the trees to grow in this unusual way?
It's an intriguing idea, for sure. But there's no scientific evidence to support the existence of ley lines, let alone their ability to bend trees.
It's more of a spiritual or mystical belief than a scientific explanation.
All right, one last stop on our tour of theories. Extraterrestrial intervention.
Aliens, you're not suggesting.
Well, why not? It's as valid as some of the other explanations we've discussed. I mean, who knows what kind of technology or abilities advanced extraterrestrial beings might possess?
I suppose. But wouldn't there be some kind of evidence? Some trace of their presence?
Maybe they're just really good at covering their tracks. Or maybe, just maybe, the bending of the trees is a message, a sign left behind for us to decipher.
Okay, now you're just having fun with me.
A little bit. But hey, when we're dealing with the unknown, sometimes it's fun to let our imaginations run wild.
Fair enough. But let's get back to reality. What about the possibility of a genetic mutation?
That's actually a more grounded theory. We know that genetic mutations can cause all sorts of strange and unusual plant growth.
Right. So maybe these trees were exposed to something that caused a mutation, leading to this crooked growth pattern.
It could have been radiation, chemicals, some kind of environmental factor we haven't considered.
But wouldn't a mutation be more random? We'd expect to see more variation in the bending, not this uniform curve.
That's a good point. And scientists have studied these trees, looking for signs of genetic anomalies.
Now, what did they find?
Nothing conclusive. There's no evidence of a specific mutation that could explain this phenomenon.
So we're back to square one. No clear answers.
It seems so. The crooked forest remains an enigma. We've explored a wide range of theories, from the plausible to the outlandish.
And yet, none of them fully explain the mystery.
Which, in a way, is what makes this place so fascinating. It's a reminder that there are still things in the world that we don't understand.
And maybe we never will.
Maybe. But I think it's the pursuit of understanding, the quest to unravel these mysteries, that makes life so interesting.
Absolutely. The crooked forest is a challenge, an invitation to keep questioning, keep exploring, keep searching for answers.
And who knows, maybe one day, someone will crack the code and reveal the truth behind these bent trees. Until then, the mystery lives on.
And so does the wonder.
Exactly. So, to all of you listening, what do you think? Which theory resonates with you? What kind of evidence would convince you?
Share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your perspectives on this crooked enigma.
Because sometimes the most intriguing questions are the ones that remain unanswered.
And those are the questions that keep us curious, keep us exploring, and keep us coming back for more.
Until next time, keep those minds open and those questions flowing. We'll see you on our next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.